So you think whether these people are amongst God's chosen elect? Not so, brothers and sisters. Many of God's people perished in the wilderness. They perish in the wilderness. I didn't think so either. One time, I didn't think that way either. How could that possibly be? But then it happened to me. Then it happened to me. If anybody thinks he stands, take heed lest he fall. Many of God's people, like I always say, leave this world most unceremoniously. They perish in the wilderness. God's people perish in the wilderness down here. Yet they are beloved of God, and you will see them in the world to come. I just put that up there just to give you an example. On the internet, many of these people, I've listened to a lot of them talk. Some of them are very well educated, and they know, they know about God. But they have perished for whatever reason, in the weakness of the flesh. They end up entrapped by the devil. And how could that happen? Look, how could that happen? I'm gonna give you my little test. Well, let me read this first, just to show you that I'm not exaggerating with these examples on my little channel. Okay. 1 Corinthians 10. Let's read this. Moreover, brethren, I would not have you should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses, and in the cloud, and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat. This is God's people, brothers and sisters. They'll tell you all day that, he said, when he went down, he said, let my people go. He was talking about his people, Moses. And did all drink of the same spiritual drink. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ, brothers and sisters. What is the audience? Who is he talking about? God's people. But with many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Well, anyway, it goes down here and tells you about all the different things that they didn't please God. I'm not going to read them all because I'm guilty of some of them. But anyway, used to think all these people were doomed for a devil's hell, that none of them will be there in the world to come. Just wrote them off. You'd see most preachers write all this stuff off. They just presume on God. Incidentally, you can't love God properly, in my view, if you have a false assumption of him. See? If you have this false assumption that the will of man determines every man's destiny. No, God determines every man's destiny. But after the new birth occurs, many of God's people, after they drink of this, many of God's people perish in the wilderness of this world, brothers and sisters. So we need to, when I see this stuff like that, my heart just breaks. Because look, I'm no better than they. I thought I was. I might have thought I was at one time in my life. But let me tell you what happened to me. I can identify with the druggies. I can identify with all these sins, because I pretty much came close to committing all of them within my lifetime, brothers and sisters. And it's the wonderful grace and mercy of God that has brought me through. Well, let me tell you something. I want to die. I say they die most unceremoniously death. That's what I call it. I say unceremoniously because they don't get to grow old. I hope I'm gonna grow old and start doing things right a little bit, and when all the grandkids will come around, and say, "Oh, granddaddy's dead." That's the way I want to go. I don't want to be in an embarrassing situation, like almost happened to me when that many times God had just brought me on through. What it's almost happened to me. I almost died a druggie, a druggie. Let's say one time at work. I'll just tell you my story real quick before I run out of time. I was following Christ. I mean, I was believed that I was born again. I've been born again since I was a little baby. But I've been the whole crooked road of all the flim flam preachers in the world, and but I didn't know anything. I didn't know nothing. It took God bringing me down and show me that of His wonderful grace and mercy. And anyway, I wanted to say this. Give you my little testimony. That came through at work one time. I've been working for 20 years, so 20 years at least. And this somebody took over one of these people in high places. They had this program going where everybody was going to lose weight, and if I was a big old fat boy, but I tell you what, I weighed 300 and at least almost 40 pounds. So, but they were having this weight thing throughout the cotton mills. They wanted people to lose weight. Well, I couldn't lose weight. I loved to eat. My wife could cook. But anyway, I started cheating. I went down. I found this unscrupulous doctor down in Columbus that all the druggies knew about. The druggies knew about him. He'd give you any kind of pills you wanted to. So I went down. Somebody told it to me. I went down there. He gave me all the diet pills I wanted. I lost over 100 and something pounds. I was down to working weight. I could work all day. and just float through your day. Those pills that I took. I understand I understand people that take drugs. Their dilemma. Well, anyway, I could work all day, and it didn't even bother me. And I didn't have to eat nothing, I'd take one of those pills in the morning, drink a cup of coffee. I was good to go for all day long, and you couldn't get me harder to eat anything. Well, anyway, rocked on along there, and I began to notice a little black circles under my eyes, black under my eyes, and but I didn't think anything about it. I kept on working. Well, I kind of got a cold there one morning. I asked my wife to bring me some bring me some, what do you call it, something for a cold. She brought me something for a cold down there. I took it. Wow. You're not supposed to do that, brother and sister, because that adds on top of the pills. That adds to the pill, and I had I went, I crashed. Right there at work. Everybody knew it. Doug, the big Christian, thought it was a drug addict. It doesn't matter whether you get it from a doctor or off the street. Of course, I thought I'm not going to take nothing off the street. I wouldn't do that, but I would get it from a doctor. I knew that it was. And anyway, I crashed big time. I was embarrassed. Well, how embarrassing, naming the name of Christ and going this way. I was fixing to die. I almost died. Anyway, the nurse was, had me on the gurney looking at me, and they passed the word all around the mill, what a, and my wife came and got me. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, I poured all those things down the commode. Oh, I want to tell you some of the, you could work all day. You could, I understand it. Not tired at all. After I got off work, I'd dive into something in my car engine. I'd rebuild it just about. You could think, you could figure things out. I'm just telling you, drugs. I understand it. But anyway, I got through with that, and I poured them all down the commode, which I found out later you weren't supposed to do. You're supposed to come off of them slow, but I just crashed. I had night sweats. I had nightmares. I had voices. uh, somebody talking, nobody there. The devil was giving me fits. I was guilty. God turned me over to the devil for a long period there. I thought I was not going to make it, but I made it through by the grace of God. This what do you call it? This withdrawal. This is the monkey on your back. I made it through, brothers and sisters. And I swore him, and I don't ever swear to God anymore that I'm not going to do something. But that's one promise I kept. I've drank a beer since then, but I didn't ever take any more mind-altering drugs. I'm talking about mind-altering drugs. I take things for blood pressure and stuff like that, but I won't take anything that's mind-altering. It changes, it gets in between you and God, that goes in there in between you and God and tricks you. But anyway, just wanted to tell you, brothers and sisters, anybody, take heed at the end of this thing, after it gives this whole long list of things that a Christian, they call it a Christian, is possible that they do. Wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. This is talking about God's people. But I want to tell you the great amazing grace of this. All these people that you think that left out of this world most unceremoniously, kids shooting one another on the street, all the people, all this stuff that's going on around you, there's hope that they are included in this great multitude that no man can number just because of God's amazing grace. That's what I'm here today to tell God's people about. You're being flim-flammed by the powers that be that have got in all these seminaries and given everybody a something to do gospel all across our great land. And I call it great land, not because of those in high places. I call it great land because God has so many people sprinkled across this great land everywhere you turn. He has God's people, even those that are believing the something to do gospel. They are his people too. I'm just saying, they're his people too. They have attributes of God. I look on these things of these people that are trapped up here in Philadelphia. I, on my trips, went to up there to these big cities and saw all this. It wasn't bad back then, but it's even worse today. On my travels, my hitchhiking through America, I went up here to these cities, and we saw what it was like. But thank God that I came back south home. I came back to my home after I saw the world. Anyway, just want to get on here this morning and tell you this wonderful hope for people that you think that have gone on, people in your family that have been tricked by the devil. There's hope. Because why? Because it's according to his mercy. It's not according to how much belief you can get over on the belief meter. It's not according to faith, how much through faith. I had a cup of coffee with a Calvinist, and they have it through faith. But God is the author and finisher of your faith, brothers and sisters. The Calvinists had it perseverance of the saints. That means you had to persevere, say. They had it that way. But I believe in preservation of the saints. That's the last thing in TULIP, perseverance. That's where you got to hang on to God after it all happens and make some kind of a confession. The little babies can't make confessions. I got to get out of here. I hope I said something out here that helped somebody out there. But you know what I always say at the end of these videos? Ringo used to say it. He doesn't have a lock on that. I can use it too. Peace and love, brothers and sisters, from Miss Old Boy down here in Alabama.